With both Christmas and the first day of Hanukkah just 12 days away, a lot of you are gearing up to travel this season. Millions of Americans will travel over the holidays, and it's important to plan ahead to ensure that that trip is safe and healthy. Local nurse practitioner Anna Hembrick is here with some timely tips. Good morning, Anna. Good to see you again.
Good morning. Good to be back.
We were just chatting about motion sickness. Both of us are very susceptible to that. And that's a horrible thing when you're trying to travel, especially if you're in the back seat of the car.
Right, absolutely. So what happens is when you have normal movement, your inner ear, your eyes, your joints, your muscles send signals to the brain. But when there is unnatural movement, say sitting in a car, moving, then those signals kind of get mismatched. And that's when you start to feel the headache and the nausea and the sweating, and it's really uncomfortable. It mostly affects women.
Not surprising.
And we see at the MinuteClinic children ages 2 through 12 a lot for this as well.
That's tough when you have a child and you want them to be having fun and be comfortable. So what are the symptoms we should be looking for when we're traveling and a child says, I don't feel good?
Right. So what happens is if they're doing something, you need to have them stop that activity right away.
So like
reading
watching
in a car,
DVD, reading,
stop
playing
reading,
a video game.
Stop playing a video game, stop doing all of that stuff. You want to make sure that they can see the road from the back seat, wherever they are, or above the seats. And then, especially if you're in a train, we talked about the train before.
Yeah, riding backwards, no, can't do it.
So you want to sit in the front of the train versus in the middle or the back. If you're on a plane, you want to sit where the wings are. And then if you're on a cruise ship, you want to be placed in the middle, but at the waterline.
So that you get less motion.
That you get less motion.
Less
Absolutely.
motion. Okay, you've got motion sickness. What do we do?
So you can do a few things prior. So before you leave, make sure you don't eat any heavy, greasy meals. Try to stick to something really light. For children ages 2 to 12, they can take a Dramamine or Benadryl. It's good for adults too. Sometimes that works. But if that doesn't work, such as for me, you need a prescription medication. There's something called a scopolamine patch, which is prescription. It's a patch that goes behind the ear, and you wear it 4 hours prior to travel. It really helps a lot.
I had some elastic bands that had pressure points in them that kind of work.
Yes, kind of work. Yeah, kind of work. So, you kind of don't want to take any chances. You might ruin your trip if you're just like, let me try this and see. No, the scope is something that's going to work. Absolutely.
Before you have to travel.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned that women are most susceptible to this. Are children susceptible a lot of times to motion sickness?
They are, absolutely. Yeah, and that's how you figure it out. Like you said, I don't feel so well, what's going on. So basically, if they start to get those symptoms, you want to have them stop the activity. We already talked about that. Recline back as much as possible. Give them some air, open a window, something like that. Have them close their eyes. You definitely want to remove anything that has an odor. Like, if you're already nauseated, to add food smell to that makes it totally worse. So try to get rid of that, and then maybe take some dry crackers and some ginger ale with you to pack, just to make sure that you can settle a stomach.
Will stopping for a little while help?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, some great things, and you talked about the prescription medication. If you know that you're susceptible, you want to get that ahead of time before you travel.
Absolutely.
That's a good thing. Is there anything we can do to prevent it, before we go? You talked about the one thing.
Yeah, so you can do the meals. You can also do, the children can take Benadryl or Dramamine beforehand, 1 hour beforehand, and then of course the patches beforehand. But you got to stop it early. If you let it go too long, there's like no turning back. It's going to be really uncomfortable.
And it is just the most miserable feeling in the world.
It's really awful.
Especially if you got a long trip ahead of you.
Yeah.
Not a good thing. Well, we talked about traveling healthy. That's some other things we want to talk about today as well. What are some of the things that we should maybe pack in our travel bag?
Right, so you want to think about too, the most important thing, if you're flying, try to take pills instead of liquid. So if you bring a liquid, it's not going to help you underneath the plane, being in your baggage and your checked baggage. So you got to take pills, because we can't take over 4 ounces on a plane. 3 ounces
per whatever.
Yeah, so you might want to do like an over-the-counter cough and cold medication. That's always good. Take your allergy medication with you if you have normal seasonal allergies. You may want to take a pain reliever like an acetaminophen, ibuprofen, or aspirin. Definitely want to take an anti-diarrhea medication. Will completely ruin your trip because you're eating something new. You're eating in a new place, new water, everything. So make sure you take that with you. And then maybe even some Band-Aids and like a over-the-counter ointment, just if somebody gets a scrape or a scratch.
Yeah, because you want to be prepared in case you need something like this. Especially, I've found if you travel overseas, maybe you're taking Bahamas cruise or something like that, these things can get very expensive.
Yes, they can. I don't want to pay $5 for a Band-Aid, so bring them with you.
So you want to pack it, make sure, and also prescription medications. If anybody in your family is taking prescriptions, you want to make sure that you're up to date with them and take them with you.
Yeah, you're overseas, that's not a good thing.
Or even, you know, if you're traveling in the country and you're traveling, you got to make sure you have a prescription. That is good to know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anna Hembrick, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome and safe travels this holiday if you're going
you
anywhere.
Too.